Welcome to the reading guide for Chapter 1 of Volvino. In Chapter 1 we introduce you to embedded microcomputer systems. Section 1 looks at what components are in an embedded system, and Section 2 looks at applications that you might see embedded systems in. So you'll want to compare and contrast these to the other definitions we'll talk to in class. Section 3 looks at flowcharts and structured programming. These are two concepts that will run throughout the course, so you want to pay attention to how do you make a flowchart, what do the pieces mean, and what are the three structures for structured programming. Section 4 kind of tries to draw into the modern embedded systems. Many modern embedded systems have multiple processors or multiple cores at least, and so they're executing different threads all in parallel. So this starts to look at that, but it's not particularly important in the S19, which is not a multi-threaded or multi-core processor. Section 5 looks at the product development cycle, which is a very good section. It looks at how do you develop products, how do you develop them from specifications into requirements, how do you build them, and then how do you debug them and go around. So that's definitely worth some attention. Section 6 looks at how you take a embedded system or a set of software in particular and successively refine it from working system into working system, where you're adding functionality to it at every step. So that's certainly a good section. Section 7 looks at qualitative and quantitative measurements for quality. And he's got some funny stories in there about trying to implement these metrics at UT Austin, where he teaches in this class. So they've got a very similar class to this at UT Austin, and Volvino has taught it for many years. And this section also looks at the attitude you can have and the attitude you should have when you're developing software to save yourself later, and so that you develop a good habits and good attitude toward software design as you go. Section 8 then finally looks at debugging theory, and this is more specific to the S19, to the 9S12. I keep calling it the S19, the 9S12 processor. So this is more of a nuts and bolts. How do you debug in an embedded system with this processor? We'll of course be looking at Volvino for more general debugging advice and how that works.